Good morning, Cooking with Cabral again. Welcome back. So to follow up the zucchini bread, we're now making pumpkin bread. And it is the season for pumpkins. Thanksgiving coming up, and it's just that warm, cozy bread with a hot drink. It's really good. So here we go. We're going to get started. We're going to preheat our oven to 350. So I'm going to turn around and do that now. And that's on. We're going to grease loaf pan with butter. You could use Crisco or cooking spray, but I like butter because it gives a nice little crust on the bread. So we did two of these, two baking pans, loaf pans. And we're going to start with the dry ingredients. We're going to mix together 2 cups of flour, which I already measured out, some baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and we'll get all that out there. There we go. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Get that all out there. And we're going to whisk that together and then set this aside. So whisk it together. Real important to mix it together so it's not, doesn't react clumpy when we add the wet. So whisk together, and we're going to move that to the side. Now we're going to mix together some of the wet ingredients. This is interesting. So this recipe, we're going to cook the canned pumpkin. You're thinking, well, it's already cooked. Yeah, but we're going to reduce it down so that it takes the flavor and condenses it a little bit. So we need a 15-ounce can of pumpkin. Now, not pumpkin pie filling, just canned pumpkin puree. So we're going to put it in a pot because we're going to cook it on the stove. So we're going to get a little spatula here. We're going to spatula that right in the whole can, all 15 ounces, into a pot. And again, we're going to cook this on the stove and cook it down to condense it. So get that all in there. Now, pumpkin bread, you can do a lot of mix-ins of nuts. Sometimes people like to mix in chocolate chips or whatever. Today, we're just going to do it plain, but I am going to add one mix in at the end. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. So there we go. We got 15 ounces of pumpkin puree. We're going to add in some cinnamon for that warmth. So it's 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon and 1/8 teaspoon of ground cloves. And I mix them together in the same one. So that goes in there. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to, my favorite ingredient, put that nutmeg in there. So again, I got the whole nutmeg, and I'm going to microplane it in there. And I forgot my microplaner. Let me grab that real quick. Okay, here we go. Nice little sleeve on it. And it's only 1/4 teaspoon of this. So again, take the nut, and I'm just going to estimate about 1/4 teaspoon of it. Maybe a little bit more. You know me, I like the nutmeg. Okay, and that's that. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to whisk that together. And then I'm going to turn around. I'm going to put on my stove, and I'm going to cook this down 6 to 8 minutes, stirring it, and you'll see it get warm. And I'm going to cook it down, and then I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to let it cool for about another 8 to 10 minutes. And then I'll come back and show you what the next few steps are. See you in a bit. Okay, we're back. We took the pan off the stove. Our mixture turns a little darker, if you can see like that. It's still got a little steam coming out, but it's been about 5 minutes. It's okay if it's warm still, just not like scorching hot. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add right into this bowl, we're gonna add in 4 ounces of cream cheese. And it's already been out for a while, room temperature, so that'll help it melt in faster. So we're gonna put the 4 ounces of cream cheese in there. We're gonna add a cup of brown sugar, I've already measured it out, and a cup of granulated sugar, white sugar. I know it seems like a lot of sugar, huh? It's okay. Again, we're not indulging this every day. It's once a year, you know, pumpkin bread's seasonal, so, and it's filled with fiber. Pumpkin's really good for you. And then 1/2 cup of oil. Again, you can use olive oil if you want. I don't. For baking, I always use like a vegetable or canola oil. And so we got all those ingredients in here with this hot pumpkin. And I'm going to take my whisk, and I'm going to whisk this together. And I'm going to whisk it until there's no visible signs of chunks of cream cheese. Again, that's why you want to not let it cool down too much, because you want the heat from the pumpkin, the cooked pumpkin, to melt the cream cheese. And it's melting pretty quick here. I've got a couple of chunks stuck in the whisk, but I'm just gonna keep on whisking until we have no little white chunks. And if you look, you can see there's still some little white chunks in there. We gotta keep mixing until those are all melted into the pumpkin mixture. And sometimes you might just wanna let it set and let it melt down a little bit and then whisk it again. So I think I'm gonna give it another whisk after, before I come back and add it to the next set of ingredients. So there's still a little bit of white there. I'm just gonna move this to the side like this. And in another bowl, and this will be our final bowl where we put everything together, we're gonna whisk together 4 eggs, and eggs should be room temperature, not cold. So you leave them out, an hour or 2 before you're gonna bake. And again, remember, cracking the eggs, hit it flat on the counter. If you hit it on the edge, you might get shells in there. But if you're hitting it flat down on the counter, almost every time you will not get shells in your mixture. Otherwise, you're digging shells out, and that's not much fun. So that's 2 eggs, 3 eggs, and 4 eggs. Not a shell in there. So there we go. There's our eggs. And then to that, we're gonna add 1/4 cup of buttermilk. So that goes in. I'm gonna get my spatula and get all that buttermilk out of there. Okay, and then we're going to whisk that together. Now, if you have an electric mixer and you wanna use an electric mixer, hand mixer, that's fine, you can do that. It's fine, that works. You can even use the stand mixer, the KitchenAid stand mixer, if you have one of those. More to clean up if you use more tools. So, and I don't mind doing it by hand. It's actually kind of fun. It's part of the whole cooking process. So mixing that until it becomes a light pale yellow and it's all incorporated together, buttermilk and eggs. You're probably thinking, well, do I have to use buttermilk? I guess you can use regular milk or heavy whipping cream or half and half. I've never tried it. But if you don't have buttermilk, I think you could probably substitute in. I think it'll change the taste in it. Buttermilk's got this nice sourness to it that adds a lot to baking. Big buttermilk biscuits, a lot of things are made with buttermilk. So anyway, we got that all mixed together. I'm gonna give that pumpkin mixture one last whisk to make sure all those little white specks, oh, now they're all gone, are out of here. So that's all whisked together. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the pumpkin mixture and add it to the buttermilk and egg mixture. And there it is, it's all nice in here. Make sure we get all of it. And boy, it sure does smell good. Wish you could smell it. The nutmeg and the cloves. Cloves have a lot of flavor too. That's why we only have 1/8 of a teaspoon in there. If you overdo it, whew, it's powerful. So make sure it's only 1/8 of a teaspoon. So there's that. Gonna get the whisk, and we're gonna whisk this together now. And again, if you had a KitchenAid mixer, or you use the mixer, you just use the bowl on the mixer stand and keep adding it all in together. This will make, by the way, 2 loaves of pumpkin bread. So a lot of times I will make 1 loaf, and then I'll take the batter for the other loaf and divide it into 4 and put it in little tins and make it as a gift for somebody that comes over for Thanksgiving, so they have some to take home. So that's kind of fun too, or just gifts for my friends. That's kind of nice to do. So we're gonna mix this until we don't see any more streaks of that yellow egg buttermilk mixture. Got it all incorporated. Ooh, looks good and smells good. Okay, so now we are going to take that dry mixture, the flour, the baking soda, the baking powder, and we're gonna mix that into the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients. Now, we're not gonna use the wire whisk for this one. We're gonna use just a spatula because we wanna just what we call fold it in. We're gonna fold it in so we're not, over mixing it, because that will render a flat, dense bread. We want it to be moist and fluffy at the same time. So by over mixing something when you have flour involved, sometimes it makes it dense and not so good. So folding is just folding. You're folding it over, and it takes a while to do this. And you could do this in an electric mixer. You would just do it on low and just until you don't see any white flour left, and then it'd be ready to pour it into the pans. So we're gonna fold this in, scraping the edges. Make sure not to leave any white flour on the edges of the bowl. And once we have this all incorporated and I don't see any more white flour, we're gonna pour it in our pans that are, I put butter, that are coated with butter, and we're gonna pop it in our oven. And it should take 45 to 50 minutes depending on your oven. I have a really hot oven. It cooks really hot. So I probably go 45 minutes. Oh, I told you about a secret ingredient too. I haven't talked to you about that yet. So I see no more white. It does look kind of lumpy. That's okay. Okay, so you just make sure no white is showing. And I don't see any white. And again, if it's lumpy, it's fine. The secret ingredient, and you don't have to put this, would be crystallized ginger. And ginger is one of those things that's really good for your tummy. It adds a definitely different flavor. It can be spicy sometimes, but in this case, it's not because there's so much sugar in there to balance it out. It's crystallized, meaning it's like dried. So what's that going to do to the pumpkin bread? It's going to add a little zip to it when you bite into a piece of it. You won't taste it. It won't be hard like it is here. It's kind of hard now. It won't be hard. It'll soften up. But then it adds something to the pumpkin bread that makes it unique. A lot of people add nuts, and you can do walnuts or pecans. Both go good with this. You would add maybe a half a cup. If you want it more nutty, or you could put a full cup of chopped nuts in there. A lot of people in my family don't like nuts. I prefer them, but they don't. So I just use the crystallized ginger to add a little different kind of thing to my pumpkin bread. So it's not so just plain. So anyway, I'm mixing that in now. And again, that will soften up even though they're hard. They're sometimes hard to find, crystallized ginger. I found mine at Safeway. And sometimes TJ Maxx has them, silly enough, in the food section. But I had to go to a couple stores to figure out where to get it. And it's not cheap either. But I really like that little zing in there. So anyway, so now I got my batter done. I'm going to fill up my 2 pans, pop them in the oven. And when they come out, I will come back. I will show you what they look like out of the oven. I'll slice one open and have a little hot beverage and some pumpkin bread with you. See you in a bit. Okay, here we are. We finished the pumpkin bread. So we have 2 loaves on the rack. They're cooled. Let them cool for about an hour or so, and then you can cut into them. Cut too soon, they'll fall apart. So when you cut into them, make yourself a nice hot beverage, have some tea, whatever you like. And then I like to cut a slice, and then I like to make it into cubes, and then have a little cube with my tea in the afternoons. Mangia bene.